welcome to the Corpus Christi Songwriter Podcast. I'm Jules.
I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Martinez.
Man is here with us in the house. We're hanging out in Jimmy's apartment. This time we're sitting at his kitchen table instead of sitting on his couches. But if you listen to the last episode, we spent a good 10 minutes talking about your television stand at the top of that.
The first thing that Matt did when he came in was mention the best television stand in the scene. So,
Matt,
does that work? Does it still work?
I haven't plugged it in. I'm kind of afraid to. Yeah. I have no telling what's going to happen.
If you do plug it and record it, so at the very least you'll have a good,
back. At least evidence of how I died.
Damn.
Also, there was a cat here this time. There was not a cat a week ago.
Jimmy got a cat between the first episode and this one.
More like my daughter said, the cat's going to live with you now. So this is what's happening. Haven't had a cat since I was 8 years old. It attacked me, slashed my nose wide open. I got cat's grass fever. The cat got put down. It was traumatizing as hell. So I've had a love-hate relationship with cats ever since.
And yet here you are.
So we'll see what happens with this.
So this is like Carl Jungian shadow work you're doing over here.
Right.
Like healing your inner child by taking this cat in, bro. This is a deep podcast immediately. We haven't even introduced our guest. And we're getting into resonating wounds from our youth and concerning animals, and there's injuries you're reporting on from,
I got 30 seconds in. I talked about my one of the most haunting traumas of my life.
But if you remember last time, Jimmy also said he writes songs about being sad.
That's right.
So that kind of makes a lot of sense now that we put that in context. But Matt, what's up, brother? What are you doing?
Right now, this exact moment, talking to you guys in life, getting through it like the rest of us.
Right?
What do you want to know?
I have a bunch of notes about what I might ask you. Because,
before we get into, those are pretty.
Do we have housekeeping stuff?
Yeah.
We haven't even developed a procedure for the podcast.
Not at all. Basically, the stuff that we're going to ask you on stage, I figure we'll just ask here too.
Council meeting up here. So do we have old business to attend to?
How would you, if someone asks, who is Matt, man? How would you introduce yourself?
Who is anybody? Give me a little bit more context. What do you?
Context?
Yeah. What do you mean? What do I do?
Yeah.
Damn, I wasn't ready for this. No.
Were you aware you were going to be on a podcast?
Yes. But I wasn't
aware that we were going to talk about you.
I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I'm not used to being talked. In this situation, this is a different context. I write music of all kinds, songs and otherwise, as you know.
I think I did know it.
Yeah, man, I guess, I don't know. I like to play music, and that's what I do, among other things, but that's my favorite thing to do. And I'm glad that I can make a living doing it,
Oh, yeah.
So, on any given day of the week, because people know where to find you. I don't know where to find you, because I'm the guy that's going to ask the obvious questions in this pod, being the newest of the scene. So, on any given day of the week, where are you playing music, and where can people find you?
I host the open mic at House of Rock every Tuesday. Make the rounds, man. We play, my partner, Lady Cat, we're playing everywhere, all over the coastal bends. We play in Beeville quite a bit. This place called Lain. That place has been dope. It kind of started off as one of those regular restaurant, bar-ish kind of gigs where you're just kind of playing songs for people, and then all of a sudden the people just like us.
Yeah.
And so we could just do whatever we want. There's been a number of times where we're just playing, sometimes just jamming, between the two of us, and everybody's just taking it in, having a good time, and that's always great. Other places, pretty cool spot out there in Port Aransas called Coasters, man. That's another one that's been just good people, fun, good food, great burger.
I've heard of that place.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, I guess we've kind of found our little spots that we frequent. They like us, we like them, we like the crowd. And then there's the normal Corpus spots. Actually, I love Corpus, but it definitely is different playing in the surrounding areas. because I don't know if it's because they don't have as much music going on or much stuff, but like there's a different vibe to what they're looking for. Like they're into pretty much whatever it is you're doing. Like, yes, that. You keep doing that. And in Corpus, it's a little bit more, but you got to push it a little more. Or, you know, maybe because there's more stuff going on, so people are like, you know. But, you know, we hit our spots here, and it's, you know, like obviously House of Rock is always great. The Exchange is fun, you know. We play Tannins and stuff, and it's like, you know, a little bit more mellow. But it's, you know, we're playing everywhere. We got all over the place. It's kind of hard to pinpoint, but definitely, I mean, obviously House of Rock, Exchange, you know. Cassidy's, that's another one that's been like my favorite, just because like it's so small.
It's so small, like it gets pretty rowdy.
Yeah, you know, and it's like that's the best, because you know you do your thing, and then all of a sudden you bust out like Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's over. Everybody's having a great time, but it's fun. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at most days.
So when I see you perform with Cat, you have like an array of stuff going on. And not only that, so that in itself is like remarkable, and from a audience or listener perspective, it's kind of like you're doing a whole bunch of magic tricks, you know. But the other side of that too is I saw on your flyers like taking any request you want.
Certain terms and conditions apply.
Okay, so we're not like Sonata E flat or something.
You could, but certain terms and conditions apply. I'll play any song you want, but certain terms and conditions apply.
Okay.
Mostly have we heard it. There's actually, the reason why we started doing that is because on Sundays, you know, we just do our thing, and some people love it, and some people want to hear covers or whatever. And so I'm like, what do you want to hear? And they'll be like, oh, play whatever song. If Catherine knows it, you know, you look this miracle of the internet, you can look up any song you want. And if she sings it, because the way she uses her voice like an instrument, which is just amazing. So I can hear what she's doing. Oh, okay, here's the chords. And even though I've never heard it, it's like, well, this is what she's doing, so it must be this, you know, because of A, B, you know. And so we actually got away with playing quite a few. Like one night we made off, like, I don't know, there's a whole set of songs that I'd never heard. Because that was it, we got it. And I was like, cool. So then we said, let's slap that on the flyer. And, you know, it gives you a whole different challenge, because for as fun as it is doing stuff you know, it's even scary. You're doing stuff you don't know. You're like, oh man, I could make a complete ass of myself, and that's always a joy, isn't it? You know, just like people are like, oh, that sucked, but usually it's
always funny too when like you play with somebody and you're like, hey, you know, I want to do a cover of this song, and they're like, I've never heard it.
Yeah,
you know, and then so then you get this, if you're willing to, you know, in the moment understand that you're not going to get that exact thing that happens in that song. You're gonna get somebody else's like
rendition.
Yeah.
Right, but it's also, I think, a testament to how well you and Kat work together and connect, and you're able to pull that kind of stuff off.
It's kind of crazy. We got mad chemistry, man. Everybody thinks we're married.
Yeah. Wait, you're not married?
Not at all. We're divorced, actually. No, dude, we say that. That's a shtick, and people, like, we've heard people go, like, yeah, so yeah, we just kept the band together, you know. We got divorced, but we're still cool. But
moving on.
Yeah, what's up?
So you talk about, you know, pulling out these covers basically out of grass. And do you do the same thing with original music on stage?
Absolutely. Like, that's most of what we do now with all the looping and all the equipment. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to just like, all right, and you know, and she's only been playing bass for like a year, you know, like it started like end of the summer of 2022. And she was like, I'm tired of just standing there, like, or just singing, because I was doing everything. She's like, I'm going to play bass. I was like, go for it. And so she picked it up, and dude, she's killing it. Like, considering it's only been a year, and she's like getting bass lines down. She thinks like a bass player, you know, which, you know, that's not an insult. I'm not saying it as an insult.
I would never take it as an insult.
Yeah.
Some people would, because they like bass players now.
Bass is one of my favorite instruments.
Oh, really? But, you know, that's been like an interesting.
Sorry, I have to call you. They're like, oh, they're like, anyway. So like, even you down on bass.
Can we just like, I don't know, man, for those people who are listeners that are maybe not songwriters, could you maybe just for a second, what is thinking like a bass player? Like, what does that mean to you? I know, because I am not a bass player. I do everything except drums and bass. I don't touch the stuff, dude.
But if you were to pick up a bass, I think I'm guilty of it. Like, I'm not a bass player. But I guess you can apply it to anything. Like thinking like a real guitar player. Okay, there's this is going to be, follow me. There's this kid named Bailey, and he'll pick up gigs with me in the Derek and the Nat 20s. It's not my band, it's Derek's band. And this guy is I don't want to cuss. He's a great guitar player. Okay. Well, this motherfucker is badass. You know, I'm sorry. He's such, but like he'll play, like I've given him pieces of music. Like here's my song. And I do what I do on guitar. And not only does he learn what I give him, he adds to it. And it's like, yo, I didn't even know you could do that. Like, I didn't think about that. I didn't hear that. And he thinks like a guitar player's like, oh, this is where this belongs. And servicing the song in that way. And like, it's always funny. Like, I love playing the Beatles with him because I've been playing with Don't Let Me Down. Been covering that forever. I love it. And to me, the vocals make it.
Yeah.
But then I'll play it with him and he does that little like whatever, all the little things. And I'm like,
yeah.
That's even better. Like, why have I not been doing that? Or Come Get Your Love has been our closer this whole time, me and Kat. And he's like, when he plays it with us, he does every little nuanced guitar part. And it's like, I'm a guitar player, but I don't hear it like that. We want to hear the song. I'm like, yeah, that's there, but it's not my main focus. But him as a guitar player, you know, and Alex Hernandez, you know, bass player. That dude's a monster bass player. And when it comes time for writing a part as a bass part, you know, he's not just like rude, whatever. He's again servicing the song in a way that's like, no, we're trying to get the rhythm, you know, hit it down. And it's just a whole different way of, I don't know, approaching music. Because a lot of guitar players will pick up a bass and think, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
When it's like,
just hit the root note and then,
you know, well, 5, you know, the 5, 1 5 1 5 3, you know.
Somebody, I was reminded of this story that, and I cannot remember who told me this story, but it was about a guy who thought he could play bass, but he was a guitar player, and so he just sat in with the band, and the drummer notices what he was doing, and so he pulls him aside during the first break, and he says, hey, come here, man, I noticed you're playing bass like a guitar player. Here's what you need to do, bro. When I play this kick drum, you play. When I don't play this kick drum, you don't play.
Right.
You know, and, but yeah, I mean, when I think of thinking like a bass player, it's like as a guitar player, it's so hard for me to like pocket my musicality with the kick drum. That stuff, you know? It's a whole other discipline, and I can't even imagine singing while doing that.
I think that's another thing.
That is a skill, singing while playing
bass.
Right.
But that connection too is another thing you'll find. Like the best. Let me try to think of examples. Again, Alex and Cody, those two have a connection that's different than, you know, because they're all rhythm section. Yeah, we got this.
Hernandez
and Cody's strong. Yeah. And same thing, you know, Roman and Justin, same thing. They got, it's like, yeah, we're the thing. Don't worry about them. They're just embellishment. And it's like, and it's funny, but again, they have that connection of like what you're saying is like, oh, I'm here. You need to be here with me. We're together. And then whatever they do is whatever, you know. And that's, again, thinking like a bass player and thinking like a drummer. But I guess it can apply to anything, you know, because there's a lot of people that play drums too that, you know, we've all seen it when the dude's just, or is it there's a video on YouTube, the guy's like going nuts and the song is just like you know.
Yeah.
But, and then there's the servicing the song of Ringo Starr, you know, it's like, hey, he was doing this most simple stuff, but like, can you picture it any other way?
No.
It's perfect, you know, servicing the song. But anyways, enough. I'll get off my soapbox about what they're supposed to be thinking.
I mean, I think of like you know, I mean, as a songwriter, I feel like, especially during band practice, like a bass player, I mean, I kind of have some bass player CPSD in a way, you know, like I've played with bass players that have like been the bane of my existence in some ways, because like as a bass player, like it maybe has the least flexibility for your role to branch out in different creative directions. I feel like a lead player can always take the lead, a vocalist can always embellish, you know, and sure, a bass player can embellish, but if you're not following the chords of that rhythm player at the timing of the kick drum,
unless you're Les Claypool,
because right, because there is this sort of sense of like bass and drums being like the transmission and the motor, and those two link up, and then that's the vehicle for it, and everything else is just like everything else in the band is just like a storytelling apparatus. It's just like a guitar is like, it's not the motor, it's not the transmission, you know. So when I think of that concept of I have a lot of sympathy for bass players because I couldn't imagine being one. Like, I feel like bass players, I don't expect you guys to sit around at home and practice whole notes. You know, like they're supporting the song. I get it, but when you guys are at home and you bring up Les Claypool,
Yeah.
you know, and like Les Claypool, I don't like Les Claypool. I'm a guitar player, a storyteller guy, and I want my bass player to support the song, and then I listen to the thumpy stuff and and it's like, I do like Victor Wooten. Well, but when those two can kind of be, you know, on this overlap a little bit.
When you're a lead guitarist and you're at home, are you not practicing your scales? I mean, it's the same thing.
Right. And that's where my sympathy.
So you know where to put your fingers, you know where to go, what you're hearing, you can, you know, it transposes.
But it's also like, if you wanted to be a lead player, grab a Strat and a fuzz pedal. Like, if you grabbed a bass, you have less strings. They're thicker strings. You're not supposed to do as much with them. Theoretically, right? Yeah.
And some people can do a lot.
Every bass player is listening to turn this shit off. Bass player is like,
We have been canceled by bass players.
Yeah, basically, I'm going to hear from like every bass player and jam.
By the way,
I'm very supportive.
by the way, I'm on the bass. I just want to on this conversation.
I just want to make that absolutely clear that I support all bass players and everything that they do.
It should be known that I currently don't even have a bass player, you know, so I'm ensuring my basslessness in my own bass continuing.
I think
What a baseless argument.
Yeah.
Well, how did we get on this? Oh, Catherine.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing, right?
Yeah, she's a bass player.
She's a bass player.
Jules hates her at the moment.
She's at home with her cats. She's at home with her cats.
Let her know that I got a cat.
She will know. She loves to do. It's like she's got problems. She's a cat lady.
How many cats you got?
I think she's got 2 or 3, but she's always like, "Oh, this little kitten, she needs a home." I'm like, Catherine, stop! Don't do it. And she will, but she's just got a good heart for animals, except for dogs.
No,
I don't think she's a dog person.
I've been a dog person my entire life.
Right? And now look at you.
I know.
You got any trouble?
I feel like
You're betraying.
my.
Nah, cats are great.
Okay, we're just going to sit here and stare.
It was all like stopping what we're doing to stare at the cat of what we're doing.
That's what happened in Egypt too. That's why look at what happened to them.
So I think we forgot to mention why Matt is here in the first place today.
We didn't even do any housekeeping.
No. Oh, by the way, we're at Corpus Christi Songwriters.
Right. And we got a festival coming up. That's
right.
We got other people coming on the podcast at some point.
Is it gonna be in February again?
Yeah, February 16th through 18th.
Nice. That's like the same time frame.
Yeah, it's usually Prince Day weekend.
Yeah,
every year.
that was a rough weekend. Not because anybody was bad, but because they kept singing stuff. I was like, oh God, like why y'all do this to me? Like I had to leave the room a number of times
because they're so good.
They were like amazing. And I was like, I forgot. Oh man, I can't even.
What was the guy with the hat's name last year? Alex Cano, was it his name?
Oh, Koba.
Alex Koba.
Yeah.
He was really great.
Yeah, he's from
outside. It was really good.
And Jules, who were you in the round with at the festival this year?
I did a song swap with Chris
Reedus. Was it just you and Chris?
It was just Crowd Guy, yeah. I think
I scheduled that. I didn't schedule all this.
Was it? Yeah. No.
Yeah, it was the festival was wonderful, and I was like delighted to be here and see all of that and to take part in it, and also it was a really nice kind of introduction for me into at the height of what y'all did last year. It was really wonderful to just be brought in that way.
I keep calling it last year too, and it was this year.
Yeah, it's been one of those years, man.
Yeah. But along with the festival, we are in the round the second Sunday of every month, and that's why you are here, Matt, man, because you're our featured songwriter for the month of November. So
nice.
What are you going to bring to the table? You got playing any new songs?
I've written a handful of, only a handful of new songs this year, but I am absolutely going to bring them to the table. It's been one of those years, and I don't know, someone brought it out of me, man. But that's kind of exciting. I haven't been writing as much as I'd like. Last November, as a matter of fact, that's kind of cool. Now that I think about it, is that last November I did a thing. I tried to do a challenge for myself, and I tried to write a song every day for 30 days.
Oh, I remember you posting about that.
Yeah, I made like 2021. It was. There was a few days where I got busy. I was gigging. It was whatever, and on days that some days I would write the song. It'd be in my noodle, you know, and then I would get it all out on a Saturday, like 3 or 4 in a row, boom, 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 and they weren't perfect, you know, like I have all of them saved, you know, because I was like, oh, that was cool, then maybe I'll do something more with that later, and some of them were like, oh, no, that was horrible. But to me, it was an exercise. Like, I was like, okay, I set some limitations for myself. I was like, I can't just jam, because it'd be so easy to just every day record, oh, hey, you blues, whatever. And
It was a 6-minute song.
yeah, exactly, you know. And
I had to come up with the verse.
yeah, but I was like, I need a melody, a definable melody, or, you know, I need a theme or a particular, here's what I'm trying to do with this. And I think on some it was like, I want to work on, you know, 2 chords with this like 3-part harmony and a line, a hook. And I did that. And some of it, you know, I hear it again. It's like, if I taken more takes at it, it probably would have sounded good. But that wasn't the point. The point was every day exercise, write that song. It's like, you know, get the muscle strong.
There you go.
And it was great because like after that, that continued to a certain point. And then of course life happened and, you know, whatever. But I feel like I've gotten stronger at just like the things that I wanted to work on, like, you know, melody. Like, I feel like I always lacked on vocal melody. Mm-hmm. And I did this little jazzy number. It was the first song I ever wrote that was just like, I sang it. I was driving home and I sang that melody out, recorded on my phone, took it home, popped it in, and I was like, what is that? And the whole song just based off of that melody. I was like, that was awesome. I was very proud of myself for that. You know what I mean? Just stepping way out of my comfort zone. That was the whole idea. You know, get uncomfortable, see what happens.
And were you using prompts at all, or have you ever?
I tried to do that. I tried to get people to give me some, you know, there's a couple times on the Instagram, I'll throw out on the stories, like, hey, somebody give me a prompt. I think one of the last ones was my buddy Carlos from Blind House, bass player. He's all,
You can step up and
Right.
he's all, give me
Some conversation.
I want you to play a song that's trip hop with a touch of this or that with this influence. And yeah, I wrote out this. It was just music, but I was like, all right, it was, you know, kind of had these kind of 808s, you know, for the drums and,
yeah.
you know, some string parts, this and that. And it was like, it came out and he was like, dope. And I was like, there you go. You're welcome. There, it's for you. Yeah. Of course, I still have it, but I can't even remember what I did. It was just like you know, and I tried to get people to, who was it? Or I think Steph or somebody, it's a sound girl, Brittany, was like, hey, write a song that's creepy. And I was like, oh, a song. I was like this, I recorded it on my phone, I think. It was like, oh, you smell different in your sleep. You know what I mean? Like, so she was like, damn, you nailed it. I was like, cool.
You better sing that someday.
I got to find it. I can't have to remember it. But that's also the beauty of having the, you know, the recording stuff, just being able to like show something out, put on the, you know, put it up and then come back to it. And that's something I've had a lot of fun with, you know, my setup is that come back and like, oh, that was a good idea. And actually there was one night I was home, go out into my jam room, you know, get all my stuff ready and just hanging out. And I recorded, I forgot everything that I did. I wound up turning it off. I was like, oh, I'm not in the right headspace. And then I didn't come back to it for like 2 months. And I cracked it back open. It was the first thing that popped up in the GarageBand. And I was like, yo, that's kind of cool. And I wound up just finishing it. And I was like, yeah, that's fun. You know, just a fun thing to do. Keep active, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
But
So there's a lot going on there, man, with like I want to ask about your process, but I also, like, you mentioned GarageBand,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned how you have all these songs saved. And I wonder, like, what does that look like? Are we talking about like Word documents on a thumb drive? Or are we talking about pages in a notebook? How do you retain your songs?
most of them in my noodle.
Right.
Depends on where it's at. Like, yeah, I usually hold on to an idea in my head. If it doesn't stick in my head, it's like, well, it must not have been that good. And, you know, sometimes it comes back like, but I really enjoy, you know, as far as, you know, because there's the songwriting thing where it's like when I have words, those get written down, you know, or I'll remember them enough and I'll slowly piece things together. One of the newest songs I have called Mortals, I think I posted it the other day, and it was something that I had written the first few verses, and then like a month later wrote and I finished it, and I was like, man, that I feel good about. But I have like those pieces of like, you know, whatever it was around the receipt from the bar or whatever, Whataburger receipt back. Here you go, there's that vine, and here's this line, and those things get stashed away all over the place. But a lot of the stuff that I'll wind up doing is like, or you know, what is it? The notes on the phone, and then
Okay.
just plug it. I look at that. All right, here's the chords. Record it on GarageBand.
Do you ever use voice memo on your phone?
Yeah, so like a lot when I have something like a line that I keep, like I said, with a little jazzy number, it was like just singing it. And sometimes I'll just have like a phrase and I'll just say it and see where that comes up.
Yeah.
And I always hate like the voice memo when you don't have anything else nearby. You got like this one guitar that's 3 strings are missing. Like, damn it, all right, I'll just play this notes, whatever. And I got a lot of that on the phone, but the memory doesn't hold out, so some of it gets deleted after a while.
Yeah, I do voice memo mostly because I have, I do weird chords, and in my head here's these weird chords, and so I make sure that I record that because I'll remember the melody or remember the lyrics, but for some reason I'll lose whatever chord I was playing, so I have to have that down to make sure that it doesn't float away.
Hell yeah.
And that's really interesting. Like, I mean, my process is like you guys are both talking about voice memos and stuff, and that's like the one thing I don't use.
No.
Is like I guess I'm lyric and melody remembering driven. So as long as I, for the most part, have the lyrics down on my phone, I don't really worry about saving chords or melodies for that matter.
Kind of organic with it, you mean, or?
Like, I mean, what I do is I got tired of like losing notebooks and scraps of napkins and papers and stuff, man, a long time ago. And I found this program called Microsoft OneNote. And it's like a never-ending spiral notebook.
Oh, nice.
It's an Apple is on my phone, and it syncs everywhere, right? So like, it's like Evernote would have been a few years back. But so I have all my stuff in there, and it's all lyrics. But none of that is like, I mean, very rarely do I write down, oh, this is a G under this chord, or this is a D under that chord. It's like somehow if I remember the lyrics enough to put that down, I'm enough of like a 1-4-5 kind of writer that normally I could piece that together without having to retain any musical part of it. So it's all through like just words. But my question for both of you, because you're both like voice memo users, is what percentage of your voice memos that you retain or that you take care and effort into preserve in the moment? Like what percentage of those files and stuff that lives on your phone do you reference and gain something useful from?
I'd say like honestly 90%, because it's almost like having a.
So you guys really use that stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's like you put something on the shelf, and it's like I might want something that for later, and then sometimes it's not even words; it's just a melody or chords. It's like, oh, I like that, and then I play a whole chord progression, and I was like, what would I do with that? I don't know. Let's hang it up, and then I'll have here comes some words, and I'm like, damn, I'm feeling that. I was like, I know. And bam, put them together, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, it was meant to be, or whatever. And then sometimes I do that, and I'm like, no, that was trash. Hang it back up. Like find something else. But it's like, you have a toolbox, and it's
And right now this whole album that I've been working on with Jenna Ivey from the Ivies, and also out in Rockport with John Macy, it's all from voice memos, like half-written songs that are finally getting finished and things like that. So I wouldn't have this without voice memo. And I was thinking about, have I ever used Master Writer? A lot of the people that come down to the festival to bring up Master Writer, as I've never used it. It's I guess above all of our pay grade. I'd be interested to try that, because use voice memo first and then use Master Writer to really get the ideas out. I hear great things about it. I'm not trying to get a sponsorship.
Right.
Sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, so what's the oldest voice memo you think, like on your phone that you?
So
I looked the other day, honestly.
I had a part of it. There's it's a song I released, but back in, I don't know, it had been 2012. There's a song I wrote called Funk Piece. I released it in 2020, I think, 2019, and I have a Rhodes piano.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I remember I was at House of Rock. I was working, I was managing.
Carpal tunnel as well.
Yeah, it was Sunday night, and I was like, you just kind of like, Rhodes would be cool to have. And I Craigslisted Rhodes piano. This dude in Dallas had one for sale, $500. I was like, get the fuck out of here, no way. Because then look in Austin, $1,200, $1,500, $1,800.
Yeah.
And I emailed and said, hey man, what's up? You sell this thing? He's like, yeah, you want it? I was like, absolutely, I'll pick it up tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of condition is it? He's like, oh, it's fair, I live in an attic. I was like, but $500 for real? He's like, absolutely. I was like, I'll pick it up tomorrow. I called my mom, I was like, hey, I need you to go get this thing tomorrow. And she's like, are you serious? I was like, absolutely. Or maybe it was that night. And I said, absolutely, I'm going to pick it up tomorrow. And she was like, why? I was like, just trust me, this is an investment. So she goes and buys this thing off this dude's. Oh, a lot of people were asking about it. I was like, well, fuck them. I got it. It's mine. And so she goes and gets this thing. And, you know, after a long journey, I left House of Rock and drove to Dallas that night and go pick it up, come back, just super stoked. Wow. It was in amazing shape. The speaker's a little busted up, but it works. I still use it. And on that recording in particular, I use this. But sitting there at the piano one day, I had it in Ray Semi's old house. This is where I was living. And I'm just like noodling around. I come with a little bit. I was like, what's that? Oh, and I was like, pull out the phone. Blah. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And, you know, you play around with it, you know, do a couple of, I think I had a loop pedal or something. I just kind of looped to where it sounded more full. And that's the oldest one I have on there. And that was 2012. Well, fast forward to 2019, whenever it was when I recorded it. And it was living in here. And again, I remember like going to bed one night and like playing in my head, like, oh yeah, and I had this and we have this and do the stops and do this. And like, you know what? And the next morning I woke up, went outside, started recorded the whole thing, a couple takes, and bam. And I was like, oh, we'll put that out. You know, it was the first song I'd released probably since 2012 because we went in band Echo and remember that thing. But
oh yeah,
that was it. We put out that album and then there was nothing after that. And so coming back.
Yeah, man, I love that, dude.
Yeah.
That like, what it tells me is that, what I've said of like, sometimes, as you were just talking and describing about how you put things on the shelf, whether they're like a riff, chords that go together and you just kind of save those on the shelf. And then later on, you know, you're saying 2012 to 2018 or something, right?
Yeah.
You know, you pick that up off the shelf and it's there. I guess what I love about that is that it's, you know, sometimes you write songs, like whole songs. You do the same thing with whole songs, you know, on the shelf, bring them back later. Because like the song you wrote in 2012, maybe it's not quite like time to be your song yet, but it still came through in a way, you know? So like there's stuff that like, you know, whatever happens, you get a new chapter in life, a new era or whatever, but then all of a sudden there's like, it reminds you of this thing from 2012. And pick that up off the shelf. And now that thing has been baked. It's been in the oven that whole time. And
not only that, I think that there's, you know, the musician I was in 2012 was not the musician I was in 2020.
Right.
And so coming back to being able to like, oh, I can do so much with that now that I couldn't do it then, you know. I think that happens sometimes lyrically, you know, same thing, like going through life. And there was another song back in 2011, 2010 that I wrote, and I've recorded it a number of times. I don't know if you remember Ben Howard.
Yeah.
I recorded with him. I recorded at Delmar a couple of times.
Yeah.
And
Garrett just talked about Ben Howard last week.
oh, cool.
It never really came through. And after this last year, I recorded it with Alex over there at his studio, Ox Studios. And he really pushed out a good performance of it. But now that song, not only does it hold a different meaning than it did at the time, because I remember what I felt when I was writing it. When I hear it now, it's one of those like, oh man, that's like, I don't even think about that person anymore. I'm thinking about where I'm at right now. It's like, damn, but you know, it matures in a way that's like, it's different, you know, and maybe like you said, it wasn't ready then. Now it's ready. You know, it's baking.
Yeah, I mean, and also like it seems like you mentioned that you store a lot of them in your noodles, you know? So like it seems like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it accurate to say that the degree to which you can recall a song pays or informs you as to the validity of the idea for the song?
I think so, 100%. You know, if it's something I'm remembering, but something that's sticking with me, it must be something I need to say, get out. But not only that, it's like, it's, you know, if it's touching me, then maybe it'll reach somebody else in the way that it needs to, you know?
And when you say they live in your noodle, is it like your constant radio that it just plays over and over on a loop? Or
I guess it depends on,
I'm up.
Yeah, it depends on the time. And it's like, you know, like I tend to walk around with that, you know, like, not like drums playing in my head, but I'm walking around like sometimes, you know, it's like having memory cards sitting around. All of a sudden you see something like, oh yeah, then boom, boom, boom. You know, all of a sudden, oh man, that reminds me of this. And yeah, that would be cool. Or, you know, sometimes you hear something and out of the, you know, like maybe a style, an ending, you know, like a cumbia. You know what I mean? Like just randomly, you're like, dang, that would fit really. That's what I need in this. Bam, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, those pieces start coming together. Other times, it is like, I feel like it can be like a work in progress. And if it's not ready to be like played, You know, you can work it out a little bit easier in there. And then, you know, I think with Kevin's last movie, that was basically what happened. Was like, you know, he was telling me about it. I watched it. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. And it was, you know, lived in my head for a little bit. That idea was stewing in there.
That's Kevin McDermott, by the way. Something there.
So whenever we got to, or whenever I got to lay it down, I was like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and it flowed out, and I guess people liked it. So
I mean, award winner, 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row.
That's right. That's great. No, the reason I ask is I find myself laying in bed sometimes, like with insomnia, with just music playing in my head constantly.
Oh yeah.
And when I do fall asleep, I've been informed that I play drums with my teeth. I don't grind, but I play drums with my teeth. And I'm like, I guess I had to find something percussive to figure, like, continue on with what I was doing when I was awake. But I don't think anybody else does that. But I was just curious.
That's rowdy. That's rowdy. Yeah. You gotta be careful with that, man.
Yeah, no,
it's gonna catch up with you.
I need to put a mouth guard down.
You know, maybe it's because I spent time listening to our first episode, but you know, Garrett brought up the word prosody of like allowing the song to be what it wants to be. Yeah. And I wonder, like, you know, is what you're describing in terms of like the 30-day challenge, right? Those challenges are rough, dude, especially if you don't have like a prompt to like just, you know, like sometimes it's better to just have a bad choice made for you than to have every choice open to you know.
I feel like there's the websites or whatever that do those daily prompts for you, so you can go there and find a prompt. Well, for some people.
So what I mean to say by that is just that, like, it seems like the discipline and the muscle building act of a 30-day challenge is kind of leaves less room for prosody. But I wonder if there is a learned prosody that you experienced through your 30-day challenge.
I think, and this is just my opinion, but sometimes you just need to dribble.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. Sorry to interrupt, but I feel like it would be like a month of just dribbling. Just like a month of creativity, a month of just doing it. And then you can go back to all those and figure out the shape of the song.
Yeah, no, absolutely with that. But I think that, you know, because like, what do they say? You know, boredom, you know, is what makes you creative, you know? Yeah. So if you don't have something and you're like, you got to, you know, just make something happen. I mean, that's how we got here, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, not us physically, but like humanity is like bored. Like,
also here, I was here bored. And
oh yeah.
Podcast.
But, you know, sometimes, you know, when it comes, in my opinion, this is just, and I don't think I'm right by any stretch, but like, when you just dribble, and all of a sudden you start catching the stride, and you're like, that's it, that's stuff right there. You know, it's kind of like musically just jamming. And I love improvising, and it's like something that me and my friends, like when we were Echo back in the day, 90% of our show was just us improvising, and it got us strong in just making crap up. And sometimes it was really cool, sometimes it was awful, you know, but you would get those cool moments, and I think that the better you get at that, the better stuff you can pull out in the long run. So even just not having the prompt and just being like, well, I want to see what's going to happen. And it's just one note and going from there. That's, you know, I guess if you're talking about like word wise, I guess it'd just be the same thing. Like, I know you hear about a lot of writers that come out and like, and not just songwriters, but actual writers, you know, like people that write books or whatever, you know, it's like you just dribble and see what happens. And all of a sudden you refine it and you start shaping it down, you know, you sculpt it. Statue takes time.
And realize you need only 6 syllables instead of 18.
No more word salads, you know. And sometimes I feel like that can happen with lyrics too. Sometimes I think people get excited about wanting to talk about something and realizing maybe you don't need to say all that. Maybe you just need to say this, you know,
which is more powerful.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's like putting stuff on the shelf, man. I had this one song that I was recorded at Del Mar. I never released it because it's like the song itself, it never had more than like one verse and a chorus, but the chorus had like 4 lines, and the line 3 out of 4 required like years of contemplation. You know, put it on the shelf. Your thoughts return to that song. Yeah, it's a really cool idea. What about that third? Why? And then that consumes your thoughts. And this happens compulsively over the course of the years, and then finally, I'm like, all right, I got that third line. And then you're like, wait a second. just because you got a third line doesn't mean you got anything more than a verse and a chorus. And then the thought, from there went to like, is that even valid? Like, if the song simply wants to be a verse and a chorus, like if what you're trying to say is adequately encapsulated.
And honestly, you don't have to know. You don't have to ever stick to like whatever formula you think needs.
Right.
If what you're trying to say, or once you get to a point where like I think I said everything that needs to be said in the song, you don't have to force like, oh, I need a bridge. Ooh, I need to repeat the first chorus again, whatever, and then go back.
But there is a certain amount of that I, as a songwriter, believe in. That like, if you're gonna have a chorus implies more than once. And then like, but through this process, I was like, it's just a verse and a chorus. And like,
That's more like poetry.
Even if I repeat the fucking chorus, it's going to take away from it. So it's most powerful and best in just a verse and a chorus.
But that's space.
On an album, those are some of my favorite songs.
Right.
Dude,
in the proper place, in the proper context, you're right about that.
Garrett's album, Hand in the Dark.
The reason I'm laughing is he told me how much you...
Dude.
On the last...
I'm steal that song.
Yeah.
Steal that goddamn song.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Mad loves this song.
And here we are.
Barrett.
No, but it's short. It's short and sweet. Every time I hear it, I'm like, God, dear, why are you doing this to me, man? But it's awesome, you know what I mean? And then I just like to point out, we can all agree that Tom Waits is a bad motherfucker, right?
Oh yeah.
And he's got a whole song that goes, "Achigapo, achigapo, ah." So you know what? I think you can do whatever you want in a song.
The cat freaked out when you said it.
He's big in Japan, dude. Yeah.
Tom Waits.
Tom Waits is a song big in Japan. It's not. It starts out that way,
But yeah, man, download that. Ty Dietz was like, "Hey, listen to more Tom Waits." And I don't even know what album it was, man, but it was like, whoa. But that's one of the songs. Achigapo, achigapo. And I was like, what? Wait a second. But there's The Day After Tomorrow. That's one that hit me real hard. Mm-hmm. And Trampled Rose. Man, next level.
I did a Tom Waits deep dive a few years ago. I've listened to a few albums here and there, but never like did the whole, rabbit hole, listened to everything, and finally did.
I think I'm probably kind of hipsterish in my tendencies, because even so, somebody showed me a Beck song, and Lost Cause. They're like, hey, you should listen to this. You might like it. And I did. I absolutely loved it. And then I listened to that whole album. And of course, I know who Beck is, and he was on Futurama, so I really know who Beck is, because Futurama is the best show ever in the world. Of course. But
like cartoon and make me cry.
Dude, multiple times. But getting into, so like, I love that, like, I'll scratch that surface and then like slowly dig into it, and then realize like over the course of so much, it's like, dude, I love Beck. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even realize how much I would, because like what album is it? Hold on. I gotta know the album now, because it kills me.
Odelay, Sea Change.
Sea of Change, yeah. Sea of Change. Dude, that one hurts.
Sea Change is incredible.
Dude.
It's incredible.
I listened to the whole thing, and I was just like, why? And this particular year in my life, I was like, what? Dude, why did this get put up to my face now?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's also the magic of it, you know what I mean? Same thing with like Frank Zappa. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I'd known Frank Zappa. Jimbo, y'all know Jimbo, right? Jimbo shows up.
For the listener who's not from Corpus Christi, who is Jimbo?
Jimbo is the sage old man that just loves music and supports everybody. He just loves music. Yeah. And I've known him since I was 17, 34 now. He's just been that guy that is almost every show. He's like, hey man, how's it going? I'm like, what's up, Jimbo? And he supports the Pink Floyd band like more than anybody else.
Oh yeah.
But I'm living at Ray's house. It's like Wednesday afternoon. And I get a knock on my door. Who the hell's knocking on the door? It's, whatever years. Nobody knocks on doors anymore. I usually get a text. And Jimbo, he just kind of lets himself in. Hey, man, what's up? Put this on. And he hit me Chugga's Revenge. I put it in the CD player, and he sits down and he just rolled it up. And he's all, we're going to listen to this. And we listened to the album. He's all, isn't that great? I was like, yeah. He's all, later. And just leaves. And I was like, what the? And ever since then, like going further and further, Weasel, Word by Fletch, and all this, it's like apostrophe. And I was like, dude, Zappa's the shit. And I didn't even realize, but slowly digging into it and coming across all that stuff has like been, like I appreciate the deep dive stuff, but like I'll start off like, oh yeah, I like Frank Zappa, I like Beck, and they're like, oh, whoa, you know. Another one of those was Tricky, you know, like I was like, oh, there's a couple songs that I liked, and then just started downloaded all of it, and all of a sudden you hear from this album, I was like, dude, this is even crazier than I thought. Thievery Corporation's another good one, trippy stuff, but man, like I'm hard pressed to find something I don't like. You know what I mean?
I knew there would be some kind of like electronic music influence underneath you.
Oh yeah, well I mean,
Like
you know,
pop stuff, Massive Attack,
Absolutely,
Portishead.
Portishead. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's been one I've loved ever since.
Yeah, dude.
Friend of mine introduced it to me. She was really cool, and whatever, great music. But I think it was bound to happen because I like Pink Floyd. When you go down the psychedelic rabbit hole, that's a rabbit hole, man. There you go. And it's and if you don't buckle up,
Early Sid Barrett stuff.
that's my favorite. And I think that Garrett will always laugh, or he makes fun of me in a fun way, but he's like, oh, it sounds real Barrett. I'm like, thank you, but damn it, like, I'm trying to be original, you know?
Right.
But I realize that have recordings, I think we all probably have those when we're, 15 in the room with the Tascam, not the digital, the tape.
The tape.
Oh yeah.
And I have songs that I hear that mad influence because Sid Barrett was a huge influence on me for a long time, like probably longer than I want to admit. And then slowly, moving away from that kind of, all those old recordings, I just didn't care. It's kind of like almost punk rockish that I was like, it doesn't matter if there's a mistake. It's me. It's like, I hear it now. I'm like, oh God, you couldn't try harder than that. But whatever.
That leads me to a follow-up question. When did you start writing music? Or when you started playing music, was it to write, or did you write out of necessity later on?
I started playing guitar when I was 13 because I was stuck in an apartment. I learned, my brother had left his guitar, our guitar, whatever. Grandfather gave it to us. And I learned it, and all I wanted to do was learn La Bamba and We Belong Together. I succeeded in that. And then I learned American Pie, too. A little bit trickier at that age, you know what I mean? Like all those, there's a lot of chords.
Why those 3 songs when you were 13?
Because La Bamba, okay, you want to get to know me a little bit better?
Yes. That's why
That movie holds this weird significance in my life. Me and my brother are very close. Obviously, we're brothers, and that movie, we watched it all the time as kids. And okay, that movie came out in '87. Just so happens to be the year my brother was born. Lou Diamond Phillips is from Bluff. That's kind of cool.
I saw him at the athletic club many times.
No way, that's cool.
Blue Diamondback Outfitters.
Wait, what are we talking about?
But all these weird connections. The guy who my real name is Isai Martinez. I'm named after the guy who played Bob, Isai Morales.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
And my brother shares a birthday with Richie Valens, and so there's always like little things that connected. And of course, my grandfather used to play We Belong Together for my grandmother, and just all these things that, and Richie Valens, he's like one of the first Chicano rock stars, Mm-hmm. So like all those things are like important in our lives. So it's like, well, of course I'm gonna learn those songs. Like, and American Pie, I think it's just because my family liked that song, and I was like, oh, I liked it. So I was like, and Don McLean, American Pie, man.
of course.
And so yeah, and then I picked up other stuff along the way, like fun stuff. What's that? I remember that movie, The Punisher, that came out with Thomas. Yeah. There was a song in there. I was like, yeah, that's a cool song. I like that. Learning that kind of stuff. But then it was, of course, high school, freshman year, and all of a sudden everybody's forming bands. I was like, dude, I want to get a band. And I just started really getting into like rock and roll as a whole. Before I was like, I listened to what I listened to, but I wasn't really like, didn't really have my thing. Like obviously I like Pink Floyd, but there wasn't much more, and I started like getting way into that and like 60s rock and roll, 70s rock. Once I got to Zeppelin, I was like, oh, dude, we got to be a band. Got to do this. Like, and the guys I was jamming with, they would write riffs, but they didn't write songs. And I was like, I think I could write songs, and I started writing. And that Tascam tape recorder, or 2-track recorder, I would do basically what I've always done, which is I would put the tape in. And I used to, when I was younger, I would get stoned, and just dribble, just record, and it would be like one side of it would be songs that had the keyboard, I had a guitar, and it was just direct, and it sounded awful, but that exercise of just like making stuff up And then I remember like I would always be like, all right, I'm tired, I'm done, and I would just like stop and I would go to sleep. And I'd wake up the next morning and listen to it. It's like, what? I wonder what happened. Some things came out really cool, and others were like really trash. But again, you're dribbling, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna take that. Some of those things eventually evolve. Those little ideas that you just kind of keep repeating. And I think everybody kind of does that in some way. You listen to Tool long enough, you realize that, man, they've been playing the same song. You listen to Chili Peppers long enough, it's like, they do kind of do the same thing. 30 years, what's going on with that? And I think everybody has that in some way, that there's like something they want to get out, and maybe it comes out in certain ways. But yeah, and so those things eventually evolved from jamming little things to like me writing words. And I don't know when I had to have been in high school, and angsty teenager, you start writing stuff down, and then that's all I did in high school was write and write and write. I still have all my journals. And a lot of it is, young stuff, didn't understand, but I was trying to. There's some ideas, like I think, I love philosophy. But absolutely, my dad gave me, here's Marcus Aurelius, like check that book out. Of course, I didn't take the time to read it, but just planting that seed and him asking me these heavy questions of like, what do you think his life is about and all this stuff. And he was a preacher, so he was theology and all that. And so he would like put all this stuff in. My brain I'm analytical in nature. And so you have this weird experience of the world, weird experience of life, and you just start writing about it. And all of a sudden you realize that, when you're talking to people, everybody's got a different point of view, I guess. You're trying to connect with people, right? Yeah. And so slowly but surely you start writing, you form a band, and they're like, hey, I like these songs. Like, cool, let's do something about it, And that happened. Bands come and go, but I just can't stop writing. Like, it's something that's never been... Music doesn't quit me, or writing doesn't quit me. Like, even if I'm not, actively writing something, for some reason I'll have to have like a line or whatever. And, like I said, sometimes it's not even for music. Sometimes it's just me, poetry, whatever you want to call it, whatever it's supposed to be called. But, and that's where a lot of that comes from. And I don't know, man, it's just something I'm compelled to do. And it hasn't stopped since I was a kid.
All right. So, there's that theme again of like you being a songwriter that also has you said you love philosophies.
Oh yeah.
We all share some sort of reverence for literature and language and all of that. But I would ask, like, most writers I know, they draw from one or two places. They read a lot and they transfer that into their songs.
Mm-hmm.
Or they have their own personal well that they source from, right? And, some guys do both, but like, what would you say, like, when you go about writing, like, the actual words to the music you develop? Is it more out of the well, or is it more out of the books?
I don't know. I would, I guess if I'm being honest with myself, there are definitely things that I hold closer to me. Especially, I guess you can call them love songs or, things you lament or whatever, And then there's the stuff where I'll, I've always tried to write with a little more depth than just, like, I love a good rock and roll song, like,
Sure.
shook me all night long, whatever, cool.
Yeah.
But like, again, connection and trying to, like asking a question or presenting, here's a thought.
Sure.
And that's kind of, and maybe that's from me, I couldn't say it's from a book, but like, and that's part of the thing that's fascinating is that, one thing I've been asking a lot of people is like, you go about your life. We all do it. We're going about whatever you're doing, driving, walking, making dinner, and you come across a question that you don't have an answer to right now. It's like, oh man, like, like why do we blank, or what's the meaning of life, whatever it could be. And those are kind of broad, but like sometimes we have questions like, and you think, like, I asked my friends, and one of them said, like, how will I be when I'm older? Like, what kind of man will I become? Which is, man, that's a heavy question, because there's a lot of things yet to be experienced. So, and I think, looking at what you've seen from your family, and you kind of get deep, but you'll have that question. And I think it's fascinating or he'll have that question, and I'll think the same thing. And then I put it in a song, and then he's like, hears that, and it's like, oh, so is that drawing from, even though one of us might have read that, or might have, everybody's thinking it, but nobody's saying it.
Right.
And so I guess that's where I get, that's a kind of almost a really interesting thought that you have there, is that some things I feel like will draw, and the things that are simple, like a love song or a breakup song or whatever you might write, or a song, reminiscing about, somebody that passed. it definitely comes from here. But then the other things where, you know, you read about, you know, how you don't have control over something, like a stoic outlook, you know, like, hey, you don't have control, but it's okay, let it go. And I guess it comes from a book, but you also realize, like, we all kind of realize this at some point. And so when you push that out, like, where does it really come from?
Yeah, it's like, so, I mean, someone like Tyler McCumber, man, that we talked about a little bit, you know, like, I know Tyler's a reader. I know he does, and, you know, some of the language he used. So in one of the songs, he calls a gun, he calls it a hog leg, right? And I thought it was, but that's just showing that he's like a deep reader of Old West stuff, because that's like a name for a gun that no one knows about, sort of thing, right? So there's like clear examples of that. But then I find that, like, you know, if you are trying to write songs that are dramatic, perhaps,
Like my sad songs, or
yeah, like your sad song, the look on your face right now. Yeah. I mean, but you have to draw from like your own well to get to that performance and sort of space.
There's definitely, like, nobody has lived your life. So even if you take something in, you know, nobody's had your experience, you know, nobody. And whatever that may be, you know, you're going to process it and out comes something new. And that's just the nature of the universe, isn't it? You know, taking in something, making it something new.
should be anyway. You know,
Well, I mean, you know, like, we eat stuff all the time. I ate cheeseburgers today. Now, some people might get shallow and say, well, that's going to become something else later. I will say, well, that's going to become an interesting question I'm probably going to ask somebody that will annoy them for sure. But, you know, or it's going to be music. You know, tomorrow I'm probably going to play some music, and that's exactly what that's going to be. It was a burger. Somebody else made it.
I mean, it's a burger. It'll either become energy that'll lead to some greatness, or become shit. One or the other.
Sometimes both.
Sometimes, or both. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I guess there's a lot of ways you can take all that.
So you were talking about Sid Barrett as like an inspiration earlier, but I feel like, you know, you do quite a bit, brother. So like, did you like some sort of example to follow around a person who kind of did everything that made you realize? Prince, Frank
Zappa. My cousin, who was the one who introduced me to Pink Floyd, as a matter of fact, he made an offhand comment about how, yeah, Prince played everything on this album. I was like, get the fuck out of here. That's awesome. I want to do that. You know, and so that was always been like I want to be that good, you know, and to be able to play everything and like really play it, you know. And, you know, Zappa run charting out stuff and like, you know, you're not good enough to be in my band, but here, you can play this. And it's like, damn, that's awesome. That's the next level right there. Every virtuoso musician in this fucking world right now is like, yeah, I was in Zappa's band, but he didn't really like me. He's like, what? What? But I guess maybe that's a little crazy to say, but those two.
The same shit though with like the Mountain Time stuff. It's like I needed to make an album myself where I was playing a bunch of instruments, you know? Like,
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
but you did the same kind of.
that was
the same.
That was the other half of, you know, like, I've had a number of bands, and you always want to do something, and waiting around for people. It's just like not acceptable. And I genuinely just enjoy.
Yeah, for me, it was completely out of necessity.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have anybody around. I just had my Roland VS 1680 digital recorder, and I literally skip school for weeks on end sometimes, writing albums, and then I would bring in a drummer later.
Yeah,
if I could find that right. But I did everything else myself because I had to.
Poor drummer.
But even just learning that stuff, for, you know, just to broaden your horizons, of diversify your portfolio. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm a good bass player, good drummer by any stretch. I can hold it down. I can get enough. And then at the end of the day, servicing a song is not that hard. You know, like, I think knowing that not everything has to be, you know, next. You don't have to play like Neil Peart. How do you say it? I don't know, but like Neil Peart. You don't got to play like him to be, you know, to have a good song. You can just do what do you do, and what is it you're trying to do, and what's the vibe, and what's the, you know. But yeah, I guess to answer that question specifically, Prince, huge influence in that way. Frank Zappa, and then you just, you know, locally, dude, why can't I remember? Scarecrow People.
Oh, Tim.
I'm after his gig. He's the one I'm coming after. But his his guitar, the synth and all that is like,
Yeah.
if I had that, if I had that thing, it's the elder wand of guitars right now. But that's to me is like, dude, like that he's taking something like we're all jamming, we're all doing our thing, and we're all working, and he does something that's like, that's unique, that's badass, And then there's another one that's another good example of like, it was like, that's a good idea. Was damn it, why can't I remember his name? Plays, God damn it, dude, he's such a good musician, and I can't get the names right now. It's in my phone. It's somewhere in my phone.
Email it later, and
I'm gonna have to.
we'll edit it in.
I found some
I'll put it out there.
typical awkward, no context.
Yeah, just randomly.
Okay, he used to play Tuesdays at Vernon's a lot.
Now's a good time to talk about advertisement with Corpus Christi Songwriter. We'll insert your name here.
Rudy Giannis. Rudy Giannis. Dude, I was seeing his looping and all that stuff. I was like, damn, dude, that's awesome. And I remember seeing it, like, I wouldn't mind doing something like that, but I'd have to change that. You know what I mean? And dude, Hand Sonic, baby, and a Vinny Looper, and having a whole different vibe, because he plays, awesome songs, but you got to have your own flavor.
So, do you consider looping like a huge tool these days?
Absolutely, and then, it's funny,
Not just as a performer, but as a songwriter.
Oh well, there's things that I like to do. It's not my go-to for songwriting. It's cool. I liked it. Like, there's a song that I wrote. Again, I posted it, and when I recorded it before I even started looping with it and teaching it to Catherine and all that stuff. And what I recorded, the demo I recorded, which I sent to Alex, like, hey, I want to work on this song. Here's the thing I'm going for. And, it had, all this stuff and, cowbells and all kinds of instruments in it, gongas and all that. And when we started recording it, it came out cool. But then when I started playing it live with Catherine, all of a sudden it's like, well, we're only doing a very simplified version of it. But hearing, like, knowing how it goes and then hearing the recording, I'm like, you know what? That's cool. It's got a real, Steelers wheel kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
But this is just kind of there, just kind of happening. It's got a whole different feel to it. This is like better. And I'm going to stick with this version now that it's been played for a year now, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't think I write with the looping in mind. That's for sure. But it's
The reason I ask is Jules brought this up, and then it's happening. At next year's festival, we're going to have a looping workshop.
Oh, really?
And we're going to have Josh, Glenn, he was my partner in Yash and Yimmy.
Yeah.
Jules, probably. And I was going to maybe ask him.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But the concept would be looping for writing.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think that there's definitely a process, because like I said, that song was one thing, and there's ideas that I took from that is like, well, how do I simplify it? How do I break it down to be linear, without having because you can't have a bunch of syncopated stuff if you got one shot to make it happen. And it, like with looping, you make a mistake, it's like, hold on, guys, let me do that again. Like, you know what I mean? You can't do it. You can't do that. And even then, like the rig, whatever setup you have, if you don't have it like dialed in, and there's been times where one chord's wrong, and then all of a sudden, one cable is wrong, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, Catherine, we're just going to have to do acoustic for this whole set because this is not going to work. I can't do it. She's like, okay, then we're,
So I'm not a looper, so I'm completely green in this world. So you probably can't go to some other loopers,
We're all,
and then go press their pedals and try to play. It'll be completely different, right?
Well, no, I think there's basic, you got to have time.
Yeah.
If you don't have good time,
no, you don't.
you don't think so?
Well, I'll tell you, dude. I have the time. Okay, I can't deal with the free mode in any of these boss loopers.
Really?
Right, and you're literally, yeah, seriously, dude. I'm a songwriter. I have terrible time.
No, I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. Is what it is.
No, I cheat.
Oh, yeah?
Cheat, and here's what it is, man, is I use this unit called the Voice Live 3, and there's a looper in it. It's a 3-channel looper, but it also has this thing called smart timing. Well, that kind of like just truncates in a way that perfectly loops.
Yeah.
So it kind of assists you.
Oh,
So if I'm looping over, that's what I'm using.
interesting. Well, good loopers have to know.
Just kidding. Right.
No, but like,
Other than loopers that hate bass players.
yeah, I think if you like bass players, you might have a different outlet on that.
Yeah. I also hate octave pedals too, so it's like,
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah?
it's like, so I can't win.
Like the Octavio?
Well, I don't know if I've tried the Octavia. Like the Boss thing doesn't really work down. Neither does the Pog 2 stuff. You know,
Oh, like a ring kind of fuzz thing.
like trying to make a bass octave below you kind of thing. Like some guy.
Oh, you know,
I'm not trying to promote my group at all, but Josh Glenn, I'll just call it Josh Glenn experiment. We use the Pog, and he does it really well.
Yeah,
there's definitely
everybody does except for me.
if you dial it in, but that's where that's something that again,
I've only Pog.
something I try to do, which is, when I'm playing by myself, like when I was at my last gig at the Exchange, you know, I'm sitting there, and I think that's it's visually appealing to see like all the shit I have on stage. Like, what's this guy gonna do? That's what I feel like most people are like, what's this guy about? You see guitar, bass, keyboard, drum machine, and then one dude doing everything. Like, there's definitely, and so I prefer to have, I'm gonna pull out a bass. Here it is, and it's a pain in the ass to haul around.
I'd love to just set all that up and then just me get up and play. 30 minutes. You know, crowd going, what is he gonna do?
I did
and then
that.
I get up and just play acoustic guitar and like, what the fuck was the rest of that?
Sometimes people don't do like if you have enough friends there and they're like, hey, we'll just play this one song, and it's like, you know, it's Wish You Were Here, or it's like, you know, some acoustic song. You don't really need all that stuff. I was like, all right, and then so I was like, then I get done breaking it down, I'm like, I didn't even use all this stuff. But then there's other gigs, and you know, where it's not, the vibe isn't always there, or people aren't responding, and that's when I'm like, you know what, I'm ready with it, you know, and sometimes it wins them over, because like all of a sudden you jam this funky little number and you got all this stuff going on, and people are like, there's one guy on stage. My favorite thing, playing Santana by myself, drives people nuts. It's like, yeah, I'm doing the job of like 10 motherfuckers, man.
Well, let me just say also, man, that like there are folks like yourself that do that sort of thing really well. But then if you don't do that sort of thing really well, but you got all the stuff, it's a little like, it's just a fucking train wreck.
It's a train wreck.
You know, it's like
Equally entertaining.
You know, I mean, in a different way. I'm sure. Right. I mean, so like, you know, at first, man, when I was looping and had that light bulb moment, is like, wait, I can bring other instruments in and I can set them up ahead of time, kind of stations or something. You know, like I at one point I had after I was a PA up and shit, I had my pedal board, and then I brought this like rolling keyboard stand that was like a table stand, but it was like for a vintage and metal, and you needed a tetanus shot.
Every time you touch, you gotta wear gloves.
I showed it, wasn't it? Because it like when you folded it up, it still had its like foreleg that stuck out in an awkward way that like just but so anyway, so I would put the coffin like the top of my pedal board over that and put a lap steel down on that.
Dope.
Right, and so I would loop the guitar and then maybe switch and go over and play the lap steel, right? And but at a certain point, adding in a Pog 2 in addition to adding in other stuff, it just like became to where it was, at least on my end, I just never foresaw it from it becoming. It seemed like just a big, extravagant, fucking like just a mess of underutilized and gimmicky.
Yeah.
That's sort of like the equivalent of like a horn with the clown noise. You know, like
That's a good idea. Now that you mention it.
the article, right? I think I had an iPad on the stand that was going to MIDI out to like some pedals to give exaggerated effects. So it was just. So I had to develop rules, is what I was saying, and like everything has to happen on my pedal board. I don't bring the laptop out. Like that's as far as I allow myself, like within performances with loopers and shit, to deal with, man. But you don't have those rules, Matt. You have this like you pick up drumsticks and beat on something and loop that, and then you know, Cat is playing bass, and then you might lay that rhythm guitar part down. But this may be. You don't even have like, if I'm doing this, it's like 16 bars max, and we're doing like 4 chords, you know. But you're like maybe even thinking about the next time around and making that loop stretch out further when you do stuff at times to like maybe 32 or 64 bar.
I think it's a little bit more simplified than that. Like I tend to not do like, I won't do things, again, simplifying it.
Right.
You know, like.
Which means different things to different people and different loopers.
I guess most of what I do is in 4 bars.
Okay.
You know, but like layer. So yeah,
okay.
Keeping that kick. All right, here's the guitar. Like we do a 3B Corporation song, for example, or what do we do? I have a song. It's called "Dig Me." It's F sharp or C sharp, and you know, keep that going for. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now I'm gonna add everything else over that, and it's just gonna sound wild and like, and then you just solo. solo for however long. I think with the show you took all the pictures of us, that's what we did. And Ralph, I was very stoked when Ralph was like, dude, that was amazing. I was like, yes, because Ralph was like my favorite guitar player in town. And it was really a lot simpler than what I guess it might look like, because you're seeing it happen live, but it's really just 4 bars of C sharp, and then once you get to the guitar and it's just rhythm, and if Kat's holding it down, doing her thing, it's like, all right, we're there, vocals over that, awesome. But I tend to not do, like, if it's going to require, and I know there's ways to make it work. Like I use the Infinity Looper, and that thing's a beast, because apparently it has the two channels, and I usually do drums on one, music on the other. So that way, if I ever want to stop the actual music, I'll still have drums. And I like to use tabla and congas and cowbells all day. So having all that and being able to like just turn into percussion is a lot of fun. You can also modulate. So if it's only 4 bars and I know that, I'm going to modulate it, and so I'll tell Kat, hey, C, and then we'll just switch to C, or G, we'll keep doing that. We could do that all day and just keep re-recording. And there's other ways, like if you A/B it to where I'll have this loop with this rhythm, this key, 4 on the floor. And then, okay, well, on this one, I'm gonna start with the drums, so that way I can back out that key and then just have this drum going and then record over with a different, and then I can A/B, so it's like, it's G on this one, but now it's A on this one, and so on and so forth. And I guess that's a little bit complicated, or it could be, but like the loopers making all the work easy, you know what I mean? But I guess it just depends on.
Yeah, my mind just had. I didn't follow.
I'm sorry.
I think I get it.
You understood what I was saying, right? I don't sound crazy, right?
This thing they stomp on the ground.
Yeah. But if you got good time and you have a good idea, because there's tools available. Use the tools that are available when they're available.
It's like, so like if I get booked on a 3-hour gig and it's just me by myself, I'm like, there's going to be some loop.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
going to eat some time and it's going to sound cool and stuff, right? But like that looper possibility like makes these gigs possible,
Easy to load a little bit.
Easy to load a little bit, man. Yeah. But I'll also say that like there is a part of looping that for me became not so much about like I want to be able to loop, but I want people to not have even been able to tell that I am looping.
Or not even notice until later.
Not even notice until I am. Yes. And so that became kind of a whole thing. There was and loopers are weird people, man. Loopers are some
What do you mean, people?
weird people. So there's there's like a live looper festival thing that happens every year. One's in Providence, Rhode Island. The other one's in Santa Cruz, California, and they have another festival in Mexico City.
Whoa.
And when I was living in the Northeast, I got invited to the Looper Festival in Providence. And so I went, and they were putting on a clinic and stuff too, and the Looper clinic, and it was really great. But when I say loop people are weird, I mean like some of the acts were some of the most bizarre acts I've ever seen. So I mean to say that in context of like, or to contrast that about the music that's like the parent that you make. You make music with loopers. A lot of people make bizarre art.
Soundscapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy, actually, the guy who, he didn't sell it to me, but the Infinity Looper belonged to my friend Matt Eller. He plays guitar in my Pink Floyd group, and he had a called M9 for years, and he's a great musician. He's obsessed with synthesizers, which should lead you to the same,
Right.
It's on the same line of dialogue that you had right there, which is, loop people are weird. My buddy Matt is definitely weird. I hope he listens to this because he'll laugh his ass off. But he was into that, and he used that, my looper pedal now as in that way, because I remember there was one day he came into House of Rock and they had wind chimes, and then like a keyboard, and then like just random things. And
Wait, can we just see a general feel? How do you feel about wind chimes?
I love wind chimes.
hold on,
Now I feel about wind chimes.
I'm not talking about the. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I hate them.
You don't like them?
Like actual. Oh,
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah,
You're talking about
orchestral.
Yeah,
The ones that like. Wait, I fucking hate them.
Okay, great, cool.
I like them. I think they're in
They have their moment.
context. Yes, like, and your grandma's porch. It's a Saturday afternoon.
I don't want them on my porch, but I like the idea that they're on my grandma's porch.
But your neighbor's porch, the one that always stomps around, that that guy's an asshole. But then they had this weird, wind sound effect, and then you hear this, and then you see like a pulse or something, and it can be really cool, And if you're into that, and if you're under the certain kinds of circumstances, those things can be even more interesting, There's actually a place.
Describe these circumstances that you're.
Peyote.
Okay.
Mushrooms at least. But there's actually in New Orleans at their city park, they have a tree that they hung. I guess twin chimes and some other things. It's a musical tree, and it is badass. I was sober when I was there, but laying underneath it on a windy day, and you just hear like the hum of with the wind and everything. It's beautiful.
Have you listened to Smile, Beach Boys, Brian Wilson?
No, but I know exactly. I can imagine.
There's literally a song called Wind Chime.
Oh, have you like put headphones on and cranked pet sounds?
Oh yeah.
It's just like, why is that there? What is that sound?
Yeah.
It only makes sense to him.
You guys were talking about Tom Waits earlier, and the guy who recorded Tom Waits, his name is Jakir King, for the Mule Variations album that he worked on, and Jakir King, when I was really young and just moved to Nashville, I read that dude's article in Tape Op magazine, and then I proceeded to send him a few emails asking him to meet with him and talking about recording and stuff, And he told me about how when he recorded Mule Variations, like there were real chickens and real like animals in the background on that album, because it was recorded in an old barn in like Northern California.
That's awesome.
And they took like a 24-track tape machine in there, and they put it in one room, and it wasn't even like a true wall up between where the studio stuff was and where Tom Waits had the instruments. And he said that like, he'd be sitting there listening to Tom sing and play, somewhat having an out-of-body experience recording Tom Waits himself while looking at the blowing tracks on the tape. And at some point, Tom would just get up and go walk somewhere else and start playing a completely different instrument in another part of the barn. So a lot of the stuff that happened, was like, those are real animals and stuff like that. And that's what I heard.
That's the stuff that excites me about, those old recordings in general.
Yeah, I think good recordings, and that's something that I feel like is really missed. And then I guess we can be snobby about it, but
be snobby about it.
Well, getting a good take at something, whatever it sounds like. And I'll have this debate with people about, because when I say, I record on GarageBand, like, really, GarageBand? Why don't you get Reaper or Logic or whatever else there is out there? I was like, I don't really care, because, and then there's always, everybody says, well, the Beatles recorded on the 4-track, this is even better than that, and whatever. But I think that more importantly is that the Beatles took good takes. Yeah. And I mean, more than whatever it is they had, they took good takes, and you listen to songs like, for example, All Along the Watchtower. You listen to that opening guitar riff is compressed the hell. It's like, and it's kind of shitty. It's kind of like, but your average listener, when I didn't produce music, I didn't think about that. I just thought, that's dope. Hearing that first note ring is like, that's dope. La Bamba, another good one. If you listen to that one, it's like, man, this is kind of crap. Or Come On, Let's Go. And how many you hear, well, come on, let's go, like they're a little behind or whatever, but it's like, hey, that was a good take, because you hear it, you don't even care about that, but they captured the song or whatever, and I guess that, it's like, hey man, they were here's the moment, like a picture, here's the moment, bam, there it is, that's what we wanted right there, and getting it all dialed in, capturing that moment, capturing that performance, and that's what makes a good recording, of a good song.
Right.
And, knowing the difference between something that's a good song and something that you just like. Which is kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's like, the stuff that's like, you put on the shelf versus the stuff that's like, was it Quincy Jones? Talking about Thriller? Dude, Thriller, man. Every song on Thriller, every last one of them, banger. And he talked to Quincy Jones, like, Michael Jackson had like 40 songs for that. He's like, no. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Here's the best 20. Not that one, not that one, not that one. Here's the best 10. Like, what? Dude, what?
Yeah.
Like, I can only imagine it, how, that's painful as an artist, but I like that one. I was like, yeah, but it's not strong.
Did you guys see Omar Rodriguez from the Mars Volta is dropping like a 20-year volume of work all at once or something. Damn, something like 46 albums or something ridiculous like that.
Try to be like Prince.
Saying
It's the most insane thing I've ever heard about, dude.
that's going to cost so much.
It's like the exact opposite of what you're talking about when you.
I mean, I guess there's something to be admired about that too. Like, you know,
To be completely open and like,
yeah, here it all is, but
here's my class.
it doesn't, you know, because and then there's that other weird, the caveat is that there's somebody right now. Like, what band do you hate? What band do you absolutely hate? Pop band. Both of you. What's a
Pop band?
pop band? Yeah, pop band. Yeah, Smash Mouth, perhaps. You know.
So yeah, I mean that's one of them. Sure, we sing.
Well, like there is definitely somebody who thinks that Smash Mouth is God's gift to man. They were that. This is the greatest songwriting in the world, and there's nothing you could do to get. Somebody believes that Herman's is peak rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Hey, my dad chose Herman's over. I think it was the Doors or something.
Shot. You see?
When he was a kid. So.
Yeah, that's funny.
You know, for me, Creed came to mind. That was the first.
Yeah, but you know, same thing. There's definitely somebody that they're all about it. It doesn't matter what they do. For me, Sid Barrett. If you listen to that stuff, it's like, man, it's painful because of you know what the dude's going through. It's also, man, he really didn't try. He was just, man. And there's something romantic about that. You know, it's cool. And you know, as a young kid, it's like I didn't care about any of that, and I still love those songs. They reach to me in a way, but. Coming back and looking at it again,
You love it in the nostalgic sense.
yeah, you know, and it's great for reasons, but it's not, you know, he's not the greatest songwriter in the world, that's for sure. And there's
Someone is going to disagree with you.
yeah, well, of course, I didn't do it with Sid Barrett people, but like there are definitely definitely songs that are absolutely the greatest songs. You know what I mean? Like because they're so universal, because they hit you so hard. And maybe Thriller's not the greatest example, but like let's face it, that album sold better than every album ever in history to this day. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a reason for that. It was good songwriting, and yeah, it's pop, but still good. It reaches people whether you like it or not. And maybe it's tribal, you know. But take something. I think it's second or third, Dark Side of the Moon. Naturally, of course, I'm gonna bring that up, but it touched on
This long.
such universal themes. You know, I'm just saying. But there's probably some more than there, but like, I feel like some of that's. Well, I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Well, yeah.
Before we run out of time here, I did want to talk a little about, we brought it up earlier, but you score music for film. You score film with music, or what? You say that some way. I don't know.
Score films.
You score
music.
Film with music. There we go. Okay, that's what you do.
Sure.
When did you get into that?
Okay. You also asked what influenced me. Prince influenced me. 1999 Batman. And that's my favorite movie of all time. You could literally tell me a timestamp and I will tell you what's happening at any point in that movie. Now,
1989 Batman.
Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson.
My 15.
The best Batman. The best. No, but Danny Elfman, that score. You know, I've always loved that.
Yeah.
Because it's my favorite movie. But movie music has always been a thing for me. Mm-hmm. You know, like Last Mohicans. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like it just those things. If before I was into rock and roll, that's what I'd be listening to. I would literally download on LimeWire or whatever, like, you know, score for this movie, that movie, because I just enjoy hearing it. It reminds me of the movie, you know, whatever. And when I first started, again, writing, you know, the dribble, a lot of things that, you know, I still have the Yamaha keyboard, and you get to the synthesizers, and all of a sudden it's got these, it's called goblins or something, and you start playing, and you start making these soundscapes and whatever. And even then, like I remember showing stuff to my mom or my brother, like, man, it sounds like go for a movie. It's like, oh, that's cool. I would do that if I had a chance. And then I finally did. Turns out I'm kind of okay at it. You know what I mean? So it kind of worked out.
It's weird. I've scored a few movies, never my own. It's a block. It's a block. Yeah. If I try, I might just suck so bad. At least I think so. I don't know, but so that's why I ask other people to do my movies, score them.
Yeah.
But I just remember as a kid. I mentioned this recently, but being in a car, like I was like 5 years old or maybe even younger, maybe 3, just watching the road go by while listening to whatever was on the radio.
And you pieced it together.
It's just like visually and in hearing the music, it all just made sense to me. And like, and those are my earliest memories. And I honestly think that's what led me down the path of both music,
No, absolutely.
and being a filmmaker. And I was just wondering if it was like a similar...
Very similar experience where it's like, doing that, because I did a lot of road tripping as a kid. And so, yeah, it's like, for me, it's playing those, you know, songs in my head. And it's like, I don't know, that's something I'm always, you know, if I'm just you living out your day, you know, you want theme music. Oh yeah, Batman theme. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, and replaying stuff in here. But also, you know, I don't know, dude, some stuff's epic scores over. You know, like for dude, Last of the Mohicans when they're running and he's shooting everybody and they kill Magua and all that. You know, it's like, dude, that's an epic piece of music. And like, if I'm running, exercising, I'll play that in my head. I'll have that on my headphones sometimes. It's like, dude, this is awesome. It gets you hyped every time. You know, but that is what makes me want to do that kind of stuff. And it's cool. Like it's definitely different than, you know, because how do you hit on emotion, I guess, without there's
we talked the last episode about being songwriting, you know, being truthful. That you can tell when someone's lying in a song, kind of thing. And I think the same thing with writing music for film. You can tell when it's being manipulative, rather than being when it's serving the film.
Right. And just it's generic even, you know, like it's like, oh, that's
like, oh,
of course it's that, you know. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's definitely a thing for that.
I'm guessing Batman is your favorite score of all time.
Of all time, the one that lives in my head rent-free, absolutely. Of all time, damn. Probably the one for No Country for Old Men.
Ooh.
That's no score then.
Damn, dude. I don't know.
Soundtrack to Titanic.
You know, if Catherine hears this, she will laugh if I say no, because I love that movie. But
I'll admit it. Like 14 years old, I had that soundtrack on repeat.
No, I love that. I love that soundtrack. It's not my favorite though. Because who was that? Was that? It wasn't
Braveheart. It was some Hornet. You know, James Hornet. We're not talking about Titanic anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh no, we.
Yeah, totally.
I totally.
No, but side note, just so you can understand the context, is that for like a year straight, every time Catherine came to my house, I was watching that movie. Just, you really like this movie, don't you? I was like, it's just by chance you're here. It's been like 3 months, Catherine. You know? And damn, dude, I'm really trying to think now. Like that's a really
simplified, maybe composer. Maybe not this best your favorite score, but composer. Do you have a favorite composer?
Ivan Reitman, Alan Silvestri, all of them. Dude,
Silvestri.
Yeah, I mean they wrote the soundtracks to Ivan Reitman specifically because he wrote everything.
I mean his Forrest Gump soundtrack is just beautiful.
But Forrest Gump, I'm pretty sure Beethoven. Yeah. You know, like there's like so many movies that like Kindergarten Cop. What? Yeah. You know what I mean? And you get further and further. The weirder with that one is that I'll be watching a movie. I was like, this sounds like I really like this son of a bitch. There he is again, and it's weird. That's like a thing. But you know, I mean, I'd say like definitely like a top 10 because there's probably some that you know I wouldn't be able to tell you the names. Like, oh, this movie. I know that I like whoever did that.
Yeah. What about Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross?
What did he score? What movie did he score?
I mean, Seven's first. No, Social Network.
I didn't see that.
Right.
That's his first one. They also did. Oh my God, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is very similar to No Country. It's very minimalist.
Yeah, I never watched that. But everybody asked me about that whenever I started. Oh, you like Trent Reznor? I was like, actually, no. You know, I mean, I like it's the Nine Inch Nails, right? Yeah. Just to make sure.
They brought up Seven because you would think that was scored by Trent Reznor. It was not.
Who was this scored by? Do you know?
Probably Ivan Reitman.
Yeah. Still, like I just don't know. It's just screamed out. You know, 9 Inch.
Yeah, and no, I mean, in fact, they sampled
the answer. Yeah. Closer.
Yeah, Closer. They sampled that for I think the beginning of the movie, but that wasn't the score. So
curious.
But yeah, no, there's a perfect marriage from the beginning. Dave Fincher and Trent Reznor.
Right.
So it made sense for it to happen eventually.
So I mean, I wonder like because you know it's interesting. I rarely ever have conversations with anybody about like scoring film or like who can kind of speak to like the pacing of a scene influencing the tempo of your composition perhaps or
man, you know that's one thing I try not to really have. I'm not a perfectionist.
Yeah,
maybe I am because I'm not trying to be. But I like with Kevin's movies, which is my only real experience. I just watch it and like, you know, well, it would give me the theme. I think for 119, that was interesting because he was like, here's the scenes, and he's like laid it out for me in here. And we literally, like, he was filming, I was scoring, and then, like, because I couldn't make it to the shoot, and then we didn't have time.
Yeah.
So I was literally like, tell me what's going on piece by piece, and he would like lay it out, like, all right, and I would do it, and I would send him. He's like, this is perfect. He's like, add this. I'm like, cool. Give me 1 more minute. I'm like, all right, 1 more minute on that, and it wound up just being beautifully like put together. But with the last one, it was like he told me the theme. You know, he told me here's what we're gonna go for, and then like when I was watching it, dude, they did such a good job. But I was literally just like, what am I feeling? What am I gonna go with this? And I guess I do like to have it like kind of simple. And I mean, well, we'll talk about that when we're done with this. But like other stuff is like keeping. I think it was Jacob's project, his thing.
Yeah, from the Dead of Night anthology.
Yeah, he asked.
What's that? I'm going blank on the. I'm going blank on the name of this movie. He's gonna fire me from the project.
Death Desires. No.
Yes, that's why.
That's what
he changed the title. Yes, Death Desires, I think, is the current title.
It was he wanted it. He's like, I'm looking for this, and so just kind of do my thing. Actually, he asked me for strings the first time, or piano the first time, and so I did piano. He's like, give me strings, and so I did it again with the strings, a whole new score. It was like, but like, I guess it was kind of the same, but it's similar, kind of, and the same vibe, but definitely something you got to like. I think you got to feel it out, but I'm not the professional. Just an amateur.
Hey, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You got any more questions before we wrap this up?
So we talked about you do the open mic at House of Rock.
Absolutely.
You play with Matt and Kat.
Yep.
You're Matt and she's Kat.
Man, Stress.
That's Matt's. Yep.
What do you along with three Matts, bro?
Man, we try and actively gig, and we're it's an original band, but when we started, it was just right after COVID, so we were doing a lot of that bar gigs, and so it kind of took on that life of like being the bar band.
Yeah.
But now that we're out of that, and those gigs kind of dried up as far as that.
Who were the other Matts in that?
Matt Perez and Matt Martinez Jr.
There you go. Yes.
Not me.
The other Matt Martinez.
He gets so many emails. Hey man, you still booking House of Rock? He's like, leave me alone, people.
Garrett, I guess didn't realize you had a child.
Oh yeah.
So when I said, he can't come to record the podcast until after 9, he was like, wait, he has a kid? And I'm like, yeah, he's got a kid.
He's met the kid.
He's met the kid. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, he's like, are you sure you're talking the right Matt Martinez? Yeah, I was like, oh shit, am I? And I've been checked. And so.
Yeah, no, yeah, man. But yeah, we do original music with them. It's cool. Like we're still developing our sound, I think,
Yeah.
But we got a good chemistry going with the three of us. We've all been known each other forever. I've known Matt Perez. I'm sorry, I know who I'm talking about. You have no idea what I'm talking about. It's just Matt Perez. I've known him since we were kids. And his brother. We were pretty tight back in the day. And then Matt Jr., Matt 2, as we call it. I'm Matt 1. Matt Martinez is Matt 2, and then Matt Medes is Matt 3. If somebody else gets hired at House of Rock, they will be Matt 4, even though none of us work there anymore.
But every single one of you worked there.
Yeah. And Matt, Matt 2 was Matt 2.
Was there a time where y'all worked there together?
Yeah.
Yes.
For a short time. And then it was like a in and out, for them. They would come and go a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely I like that group. I mean, I like what we do, and our improvisation with those guys is insane. But again, we've been playing together for so long, and we can muck it out, man, if we want. But we try to keep fresh with the jams, funky, bluesy. I think kind of Chicano rock and roll too.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, I think that's all I've got.
That's all you got?
Do we have any more housekeeping? We just end without even talking about how you're playing at this feature that we done.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're gonna get there.
Well, nobody cares about that.
Yeah. I do have one final question. I do this at every single in the rounds, or almost every single in the rounds. I ask our featured artist this question, and we call it the Almost Famous question, because it's the question that the main character in the movie Almost Famous tries to get.
Oh, what does rock and roll mean to you?
What do you love about music is the question.
To begin with, everything.
No, but what's your original answer to that?
What do I love about music?
Yes. I know it's a generic question, but do your best.
I love the way music is there for me. And maybe that's selfish. But like I said, music doesn't quit me, And so I don't quit music. And there's times where you're low and the right song bring you right back up. There's times when you're on your high and you get humbled real quick, remembering that some real shit's right around the corner. Somebody like Tom Waits or somebody's gonna remind you like, hey man, it ain't all sunshine and roses, you know? And, you know, maybe that's a little, you know, silly, but I think that, you know, it's personal, you know, and everybody's got their taste, whatever, but it's there. And you're painting time, you know, that's what I love about it. And you can't, I don't know, it'll take you right back wherever you need to be.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, catch Matt Martinez at Executive Surf Club Sunday, November 12th? November 12th. That'll be this Sunday.
Sunday, November 12th.
Yeah.
12.
I believe that's right.
For our In the Rounds, Corpus Christi Songwriters In the Rounds, and it'll be sign up at 6:30. Music will start at 7 p.m.-ish.
Damn right.
All right, see you guys.
We'll send you all later. Thanks for listening to the Corpus Christi Songwriter Podcast. Catch y'all next time.